I'll do my best not to speak so loud and spread germs everywhere here. Good morning. A lot of Lane family here, a lot of Sander family here, a whole lot of Up With People family here, and I know a lot of the Up With People family are going to be watching the tape version of this very soon. I couldn't help thinking, Tim, you're always the consummate host. Tim walking around a few minutes ago saying technical difficulties. I thought, Up With People. That he knows all about fixing technical difficulties. We are gathered here together to celebrate the life of our friend Charlotte and together grieve our loss of her. A truly remarkable friend, spouse, mom, sister, beloved literally worldwide, as all of you who are going to be watching eventually can attest to. I know it probably goes without saying, but our reason for gathering together here is a time to feel anything and everything. It all belongs. Deep grieving and tears, belly laughs, impossible to forget stories. Maybe you feel numb. Maybe you call yourself a person of faith, or maybe times like this make you feel like there's just not much to have faith in. It's all okay. It all belongs right here. In fact, it's all necessary. Whatever way you look at a gathering like this to memorialize somebody's life, whether you look at it religiously or psychologically or socially, it's all necessary, and it's all part of being human. And think about this. I'll share a story from the Christian tradition. Jesus had already become a very public figure. He was teaching, he was preaching, he was trying to pry open people's hardened religious minds to believe in a loving God. Some said Jesus was the closest thing they'd ever seen to what God would be like if he took on human flesh. Think about that. He's in the capital city, Jerusalem. He's teaching about God's love, and then some people from a suburb signal to him, and they say, "Come quickly." 3 of Jesus' best friends lived in that suburb. It was 2 sisters and their brother, Mary and Martha and Lazarus. Lazarus was extremely sick. Jesus says to the group gathered there, "It's okay. You'll see a miracle." And then he went with them. As he did that walk from the capital into that small suburban town, Mary came out crying, and she said, "Lazarus is dead. And if you had been here, he wouldn't have died." And Jesus sobbed. He just broke down and sobbed. Now think about that for a minute. He was the one who knew far more than we will ever know about this life and the next life and heaven and everything else. He was the one who knew back when he was told in Jerusalem that Lazarus was going to die and there was going to be a miracle. He was the one who knew that in about 5 or 10 minutes he was going to resurrect Lazarus from the dead, and he sobbed. If he truly was or is God in the flesh, doesn't that say a lot about this God? And right now, Shar is with that God. And to whatever degree Shar is able to watch us, I think what she probably longs for all of us to understand is the depth of that God's amazing character and heart and passion and love for all of us. Precious to God is the death of his loved ones, the Bible says. So, as we're gathered here, it's a time for a few things. It's a time for grieving, very honestly. Tim and Ken and Ryan and the family and all of us, we've been cheated. To be honest, we've been robbed of more time with Shar. There's no other way to say it. Death is cruel. And even if you're a person of faith, you know the Bible is very clear about that. Death is cruel. It's not part of the original plan. None of us want it. So now is a time for acknowledging that. We've all lost, and Shar lost. Weirdly enough, since everything belongs, it's also a time for celebrating. We're here to celebrate Char's life. Her life meant something. You know what? Char was created on purpose. Just like every one of us in this room and everybody on this planet was created on purpose. And we all know Char. She lived with a sense of purpose. She impacted everybody around her in so many ways. And it's a great reminder as we celebrate her life and the way she impacted us that every one of our lives has meaning and purpose. Your life means something. And I know Char wants us to remember that about her and about ourselves. And then maybe lastly, we do this, we gather together because it's also a time to remember there's hope. This life is not all there is. To those of us who might be struggling with honest doubts that there's even anything beyond this life, I'll offer just two thoughts. One, you might want to read some of the material written by Bob Lanza. He's been praised by many publications, scientific publications all over the world. He's a biologist, probably one of the top, most brilliant 3 to 5 scientists in the world. He's at the forefront of biological research, stem cell research, regeneration. A lot of diseases he and his team are beginning to uncover that can be solved by stem cells. Just read some of his stuff. As a guy who claims to have zero religious leanings, he writes openly about life beyond this life, and he's convinced it's absolutely true. He wrote Rethinking Immortality. He wrote The Illusion of Death. Tons of religious leaders claim him as being a brilliant guy, saying everything he writes about is completely consistent with all the ancient wisdom traditions of the world. Because I think even those people who don't claim to have faith, the smartest minds out there know there is more than meets the eye. There's hope. The only second thing I'll offer on that is that Jesus said before his own passing, hours before his own passing, his own execution, he said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. One of his closest friends, Thomas, was of those sort of, calculating, scientific, let's say, kind of minds who we all tend to refer to him as Doubting Thomas. When he heard this news later on that after Jesus' execution, some people had seen him alive, he thought that was a bunch of junk. He said, unless I see his wounds and put my hands into his wounds, I'm not going to believe. Well, within hours, Jesus appeared to him and basically said, dude, check this out. And Thomas saw the wounds, and Thomas believed. Jesus said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. The point here is it's very intelligent and wise and very human to remember there is more. There is hope. So now's the time for grieving and celebrating Char and hope. And we've got a bunch of family members and friends who are going to help us do that with songs and memories and things they've written and so on. So I think, Ken, you are and Allison, you guys are the first to help us with that.
Take away my sin. how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come, with shout of acclamation, and lead me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow with humble adoration, and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, 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 how great thou art.
Jeff's kind of tall, huh? Hi, everybody. This moment's kind of surreal for us right now. And I hope I can get through this. It's just some stories about Char when we were kids, the Sander Sister Trio, I call it. Tim asked me to share a story of Char when we were kids. As most of you know, Char loves singing and performing. You could say it was in her DNA. It all started around 3 or 4 years old. We have family movies of Charlotte standing at the dining room chair performing for my parents, grandparents, and aunts and uncles, singing on the top of her lungs. She just did that naturally. When we were living in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, in the 60s, we're going to date ourselves here, our family loved to watch the Ed Sullivan Show. It had a huge impression on Char because it had new talents on it. It gave her an idea to start the Sander Sisters Trio with her, of course, the lead singer. And Char always wanted to be in charge. You could say she had the firstborn syndrome, if you know what I mean. We sang songs from Leslie Gore, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Richard Chamberlain, and later on, Barbra Streisand, and any musical Char just absolutely loved. I can remember practicing repetitively, harmonizing, and getting the dance moves intact on my folks' round ranch oak coffee table, which was our stage. Char made sure that the dressing, the makeup, the costumes, everything had to be perfect. It was a lot of fun. But she always led and directed us with love until we met her expectations. Charlotte's love of singing and performing went on through the years. The rest became history. Her bubbling personality, which was electric, funny, uplifting, caring, and loving. She will be missed enormously. My phone calls of an hour or an hour and a half from Chicago to Colorado are really going to be missed. So I don't know who's in line next. This verse makes me think of my dear sister Char. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Psalm 98:4. I envision Char on her earthly graduation day, having a big smile on her face, joyfully praising our God, and she was ushered into her eternal glory.
Good morning. Tim also asked me to say some things about Char when she was younger. Sandy spoke about her being very musical. Well, when she was 11 or 12, Char decided that we need to put on a production of Oliver. She recruited Sandy and I, as well as other kids in the neighborhood, and we had this stage with a clothesline and quilts as curtains, and we invited the whole neighborhood. Well, it was a hit, so she was producing shows back then. She used to tell us she was going to be a famous opera singer, and she would sing arias around the house all the time. She drove us absolutely crazy. Besides music, Char loved the beach. She loved the sun. She loved the ocean. When we lived in New Jersey and Maryland until Char was about 18, we spent summers digging for clams in Cape Cod, going to the beach in Ocean City, New Jersey and Maryland, and crabbing in Maryland. Char loved to go to the boardwalk. She would get fudge and saltwater taffy and these huge buckets of French fries. I don't know if they would make them anymore, and would share them with all of us, and we'd sit at the table and eat these French fries. She loved skimmer boards. She loved body surfing on these canvas rafts my parents had bought us. One time, the undertow was so bad, it pulled her far out to the sea, and she had to be rescued by a lifeguard. Well, I guess God wasn't ready to take her at that point. Most people don't know, but Char was a good bowler. In high school, she belonged to a bowling league, and she even bowled in a Brunswick tournament. When my mom passed away 25 years ago this month, we found this poem, and it also reminds me of Char, that I'd like to read. It's called God Looked Around His Garden. God looked around his garden and found an empty place. He then looked down upon the earth and saw your tired face. He put his arms around you and lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He only takes the best. He knew that you were suffering. He knew you were in pain. He knew that you would never get well on earth again. He saw the road was getting rough and the hills were hard to climb. So he closed your weary eyelids and said, "Peace be thine." It broke our hearts to lose you, but you didn't go alone. For part of us went with you the day God called you home. Our family chain is broken and nothing seems the same. But as God calls us one by one, the chain will link again. We love and miss you, Char, and I'm sure we'll see you again sometime. Thank you.
Those are some great stories, Sandy and Debbie, many of which I didn't know. I think a lot of us didn't know that. So, good morning. I feel like I know most of you here, but my name is Linda Early, and Charlotte and I have been dear friends for many, many years. Tim, Kenneth, Ryan, and all the Lane and Sander family, my heart truly grieves with you on the loss of someone so dear. And yet I'm honored to be able to celebrate Char's life with you and with everyone here today. I'm very thankful to God that he allowed Char and my path to cross in life in our mid-20s. I came up with people as a new student, and Char was on staff as a show manager. Follows along with what she did as a child, right? Girls. I was so excited when I was hosted together with her on the road. I was hosted with Charlotte Sander for the first time because I really wanted to get to know her. We had the best time staying up late talking about a really sweet and cute guy, and his name was Tim Lane. She was quite smitten. I remember that night well. From there, our friendship began, and we've been best of friends for 40 years. We went through a lot of life together, and we raised our boys side by side. In every way, we became sisters. I know that I stand here today, this morning, and represent many in this room and those listening online who have shared the same special connection with Shar. So Sandy and Debbie, thank you for sharing your sister with me and with so many others. She loved you both dearly. When I think of Shar, there is one word that keeps coming to my mind: radiance. There is a psalm in the Bible that reminds me of Charlotte when I read it. From Psalm 34, those who look to him are radiant with joy. The Holy Spirit truly shined through Charlotte. Charlotte showered all of those around her with a radiance of love, light, laughter, a listening ear, a welcoming spirit, those famous sugar cookies, her homemade peach pies and jams, and every now and then, some really funny off-color birthday cards. Another dear friend of Char's, Miriam, who's here today, Miriam Johnson, shared with me, she's here with the aunties back there, shared with me some beautiful lyrics from the musical Wicked a few days ago, that this expresses so well what Char's friendship meant to so many. And they go like this: because I knew you, I have been changed for good. You will be like a handprint on my heart. Shar showed such radiance as a wife. Tim, you were the love of her life. You saw the beauty in her the first time you saw her, when she stepped into an Up With People vocal rehearsal. You mentioned to me that you remember saying, very clearly, "Who is that blonde bombshell?" as she stood there and directed the cast with such confidence, energy, and her trademark smile that we all so know well. You even recall that she had a very sassy yellow and blue scarf tied around her neck. I mean, he knew all the details. He remembers. You were smitten from that moment on. You, Tim, please hear this, have been a beautiful example to all of us in your unconditional, loving care of Shar on her final journey. Of all heroes, Charlotte was born to be a mom. Ryan and Kenneth, you were her joy. Shar was my inspiration and mentor as we were young moms together. She was such a natural mom. One example was when our first child, Christopher, was born, and he had very bad colic. And I would call Shar on the phone in tears, not knowing what to do, not being able to console him. Before I knew it, who showed up on my doorstep? Charlotte with Kenneth and Ryan in tow. She calmly took Christopher in her arms and knew how to console him of his cries and calm me of my fears of being a new mom. She was such a faithful friend. I think I got them mixed up here. Let's see. Okay. She was truly a mom of boys and entered their world big time. Christopher was pretty pumped one day when he came home and said, "Mom, Aunt Shar let us duct tape a basketball hoop to the family room wall." That's impressive. There was also reports of jumping competitions from the second floor balcony into a pile of cushions and blankets. But best of all was when she designed and created and sewed from a genie costume pattern MC Hammer pants for Kenneth and Ryan. You were really sporting them and very proud of them. That is deserving of a true mom award. I have a photo, so if anybody wants to see that photo, it's really awesome. Just a few days before Jesus took Charlotte home, she never stopped radiating her love as a mom to her boys. As they leaned over her with such love and grief in their hearts, she looked up at them and quietly said, as best she could, "It's really not that bad, what I'm going through." Because that's what moms do, right? We want to console and protect our children to the very end, and that's what Shar did. Grandma Shar loved all of her 9 grandchildren. I already see your love, light, kindness, and joy in you. She is your legacy, meaning you will carry Grandma Shar with you always in your hearts and shine her light to everybody around you. She would love that. Shar's faith was strong, and God and his promises were absolutely her solid foundation. We served in leadership together for Bible Study Fellowship for several years, and why would we not be surprised that they asked Shar to be the welcome coordinator? That job was to welcome and put newcomers at ease. Who could have been a better choice? Shar knew exactly where she was going. Even when her words were few, she found enough to quote scripture. When she looked at a few of us one day, and she wasn't speaking much, but out of the blue said, and I think she wants us to hear this because Jeff said the same thing, "In my Father's house, there are many rooms." And then she stopped. I would like to read the passage as a comfort to us today. It's Jesus' words from John 14. "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I am going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, so that you also may be where I am." Music was the language of Shar's soul, right? The lyrics and melodies always flowed through Shar. I was inspired to write some lyrics of my own. I don't sing, but I wrote some lyrics in Shar's Melody of Life, and I will end with this. What a beautiful melody Shar's life has been. A score perfectly written of a beauty from within. Each note handpicked by God, a melody like no other, a laughter so contagious, a joyful noise to others. Your radiance sang over us, Shar. Your smile, it lit up a room. Your sweet song has joined the heavenlies now, and your light with the angels illumes. But from the earth, your beautiful melody, it does not depart. We pass it on to the world so in need, as the lyrics stay strong in each of our hearts. And the master composer now sings over you, Shar. You have fought the good fight. You have finished the race. You have kept the faith. Well done, good and faithful servant. Amen. Well done. Amen. I brought pink because she loves pink.
Thank you, Linda. That was wonderful. It's not how old you are, it's how long you've been living. I heard that quote on the radio this week from a doctor who died of COVID-19. His family went on to talk about him in his life and how he had been living for 99 years. As they spoke about him, they said his compassion and caring for others was unequaled. His infectious, sunny disposition was always there. The way he brightened everyone's day and how his living uplifted every person he touched. I heard that when I was out on a long walk in the morning, but I had to stop and just think, reflect on how much that reminded me of how Shar lived her life. Understanding that among here we have people who have different relationships with Shar, from family and friends, from church, from social and professional settings. Tim's asked me to say a word about Shar through the Up With People relationships. So over the past week, I've reached out to a few people that have known Shar at different times during the past 45 years in Up With People. And I said, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Charlotte Lane? And regardless of whether their experience with her was 45 years ago or just in the last couple of years, it was very consistent. And it was consistent to what's been referred to by all of you who've spoken today. The first thing out of everybody was her beautiful smile that lit up the room. Her very sincere care and concern and interest in each person that she met and talked to. How she lived her faith every day. And what I'd call her life's mission to serve and uplift everyone that she came in contact with. Wouldn't any of us be proud for that to be our legacy that people remember us by? What a gift she has been to all of us. Charlotte Sander joined Up With People in the summer of 1975. She was a bit older than most of the cast members because she had just graduated from a college with a music degree. And she immediately stood out because of her infectious personality, her beautiful, clear voice, and because she was one of the few people that could actually read music. That's not a good thing for a performing group to say, but it was true. So, I was lucky enough to be her cast director. And by coincidence, another member of that cast was Tim Lane from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Let's just say that was a fortuitous thing for both of them. Through the year, it became apparent that there was a bit of an attraction there between the two of them. And while it was discreet, it was clear that they won the Ken and Barbie Award for the year. Because of her musical skills and ability, by the second semester, Shar was the unofficial intern for Bill Welsh, our music director. And she was his go-to person to run vocal rehearsals and to teach all the new songs that came. As a result of that, by the end of the year, she was offered a job to return the next year's vocal coach and a sound mixer for the cast. It actually wasn't a job. Back then we used to call it, she was invited back because the pay was so low, you couldn't call it a job. The vocal coach came easy for her. The mixing console was not necessarily so natural. But she, through diligence and hard work, she learned the mixing console and quickly became one of the best mixers of any of the cast traveling on the roads. And that's what she did for 2 years. And then she was elevated to a show manager. And in Up With People speak, that means that she was totally in charge, the entire production of 150 people traveling on the road, performing a musical review in 70 to 80 cities within a year. And she did that, and it sounds like she came to that very naturally and had been practicing for that since she was very young. She did that for 2 years, and then in 1979, she and Tim got married, and the following year, they went on the road, and they were in charge of a cast of 130, 135 young people, and they led them around the world, and again, to 70 or 80 cities, and performing the show and giving back to each community they went into. This week I counted, of all the 5 years that she traveled on the road with Up With People, there were 805 cast members, from 21 different countries that she led, that she taught, and she infused with her spirit, her values, and her way of looking at life. And if you think of how those 800 people then went on and passed that on to thousands, Char's impact on the world is in the tens of thousands of people that she has left better, and the world is better because of Charlene. After that year, she returned to the office in Tucson and worked there mainly in the marketing department for 2 or 3 years before she and Tim decided to have a family, and then she dedicated the next decade of her life to raising Ken and Ryan. And I think she did a pretty darn good job. When I returned to Up With People in 2014, the first person I contacted was Tim Lane. And I said, Tim, I need your help. Come back. And he did. And I'll forever be grateful. A few months later, we decided we needed an executive assistant to administer the office and to support our board of directors. And so we were looking around, and somebody said, well, what are you looking for, Dale? And I said, well, I'm looking for someone like Charlene to be our executive assistant. And after weeks of looking, we realized we couldn't find anybody that fit the mold. And I realized we didn't need someone like Char. We needed Char. So sure enough, she came back, and for the next 18 to 24 months, returned Up With People and helped administer the office, liaison to our board of directors, and she served as the primary face and voice to the external world of visitors, of alumni, sponsors, and people looking out, wanting to be in touch with Up With People. And there again, because of the way she was, every person she touched felt respected and valued and served and connected to Up With People. It's just the way she was. Even when we had some up days and down days, Char was always there with her personality, with her smile, and her giving, which blessed us all. I feel blessed that I got another opportunity to work with Char for another couple of years. I've tried to think, after thinking of all the things that people say about her, of all the reflections, what is it that it all boils down to? And I think it comes down to the reading in 1 Corinthians that's usually used at weddings, but I think it's very appropriate for Char. But now these three things abide: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Char spent 67 years living a life of love. And that love abides in each one of us. We are blessed to have known and lived with Char.
None of us is born the same. We don't know why. It's the way we came. Every heart beats differently. Each soul is free to find its way, like a river that winds its way to the seas. For life, oh, it's a journey. There are many roads beneath the skies. And there are many good people who don't see eye to eye. There are many roads to go, and they go by many names. They don't all go the same way, but they get there all the same. And I have a feeling that we'll meet someday, where the roads come together up the way. Not everyone can sing your tune. From where they stand, there's another view. With every turn, we're learning more, and perhaps we'll find that the walls we build are only in the mind. There are many roads to go, and they go by many names. They don't all go the same way, but they get there all the same. And I have a feeling that we'll meet someday, where the roads come together up the way. Yes, I have a feeling that we'll meet someday, where the roads come together up the way. Together up the way. Together up the way. Together up the way. Together up the way.
Thanks, Walter. You're a really good singer. Knows I told you that. So that was pretty sad stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to lighten it up a little bit.
This
for a
has
sec
all been
here.
very, very sad. Man, it's been good though, right? It's been good to just feel all the feels, and Mom had asked us to say a few words.
Okay, technically, this is not rehearsed, by the way.
That's
You
true.
can probably tell by how we're talking. My mom was kind of losing it at the end in her mind, and I was crying next to her with Ryan there, and we were kind of holding her, and she, through tears, said, "Will you speak at my funeral? Will you say some things?" And I said, "Of course." She said, "Because you're really good at that." And then I turned next to me, and Ryan's just sitting there like.
Yeah, that's good.
I said, "Mom, what about Ryan? Can he speak too?" She was like, "Yeah, that'd be fine."
Yeah.
He's a pretty good speaker.
He's definitely the linguist in the family, so
Thank you for
yeah,
saying that.
yeah.
So we put together a list of things that we're gonna miss about Mom. They're gonna start funny, and then they'll probably get a little sad.
Yeah.
But let's just we each have our kind of own list, and then funnily, what a
Yeah.
linguist I am.
Yeah.
They're actually, they were like the same list. So we're just gonna get going here. So things that was titled "Things We'll Miss About Mom."
First off,
Yours first.
First off,
Yeah.
we cannot miss today without talking about her absolutely dirty sailor's mouth.
Super dirty.
I mean,
Super dirty.
she would just let it fly, but only amongst close friends
Yes.
and family.
Correct.
But it was always to get a
It
laugh.
was like Sweet Charlotte until
Yeah.
she drops the F-bomb.
That's right. But it worked. And you only say it a couple times a year.
Right.
When it's used correctly, it's money.
She's slave.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just in general, we both came up with her food.
Yep.
Just, that was a big thing for her was food.
Yep. Yep. Homemade pizza.
Yes, yes.
Yep. Thanks, Aunt Sandy, for the recipe.
Yes, great recipe. Shout out.
Yeah. It's
It was the dough.
the sauce and the dough ratio.
The ratio.
Yeah.
The ratio
yeah.
was
That's good. That's good.
She really only, we were laughing about this, we talked about this with Chris all the time. She really only had 5 go-to meals when anyone was coming over.
Yep.
But she slayed all 5.
Oh, just nailed them.
So we're gonna name them together.
Okay, ready?
And you guys can name them with us if you know. Kristen, you're with us.
Spaghetti pie,
pork
pork
tenderloin,
tenderloin, hamburgers,
chicken
with rice.
and cornbread.
Yeah, the yellow meal, the one that was just all yellow.
That's what you call it.
Yeah.
And then
chicken mignon.
Yeah,
chicken mignon. Those were
honorable mention.
cottage cheese pancakes.
That's right.
Yeah. If anybody's ever had cottage cheese pancakes, they're delicious. It's pretty much sugar
You guys get it.
on a frying pan.
You
So
guys get it.
yeah, it's good.
More
food? More food?
Gushers.
Oh,
That one's on the list.
Gushers is money.
She stocked the cupboards up. Chris earlier was talking about this the other day with delicious snacks so that our friends would come over. We thought she just loved us, but really she just wanted all the kids there so she could be a part of everything and kind of, be a mom to all our
The
friends.
kids would come over and know that they could just go straight to the cupboard and start munching on all kinds of
She
stuff.
was a legend.
That's
You guys missed that part,
That's right.
Grandma Shar. But
Let's go through some
yeah, we're
of
gonna
that
go through
stuff.
Some of those.
Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos. You don't just eat Dunkaroo.
That's right. Dunkaroos.
Squeeze-Its,
Squeeze-Its. Snack packs.
snack packs, zebra cakes.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's a fan favorite.
Zebra cakes.
Thank you for the
Fan
shout out
favorite.
back there. Fruit by the foot.
Fruit by the foot.
That's
so
a good one. Yeah.
Chemical goodness.
Oh, so
Chemical.
much goodness in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pretty much any version of processed cheese at all.
Velveeta.
Right? Velveeta, Cheese Whiz, whatever you can find.
So delicious.
Put processed cheese on it, it's money.
Something we'll miss about Mom is her German standard of cleanliness.
Yes.
Even though we found out later she's Danish. We just found that out.
There was one time my mom asked me to vacuum an area upstairs that there may be like 3 footprints on this carpeted area. And so she goes, hey, can you vacuum? And I was like, fine. So I didn't turn the vacuum on, and I just rolled the vacuum, got the wheel line marks in the carpet.
Yeah.
She was like, perfect, looks great.
That's amazing.
And I was like, gotcha. Didn't even turn it on. Wasn't even dirty. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of childhood house
Okay.
stuff, we're going to talk about pillows.
Oh, pillows. There's one for every season.
Every season we got new pillows.
Yeah, every pillow.
There was new pillow coverings, sometimes drapes.
Yeah. Pillow drape
And
combo.
it wasn't just every season; it was every year.
Yeah. I'm thinking like the fall 2001 line. It's probably one of my favorite.
Good year. Good
Yeah, that
season.
was a good
Good
season.
season. Good line.
Yeah. Yeah, there's pillows, there's drapes. Do not get me started about lampshades. If any of you guys have ever been to our house, we have a million
It's like a
lampshades.
graveyard of lampshades in the basement.
Yeah,
There's no, yeah.
A few other things to miss about Mom. I do remember coming home from school. She was trying to get healthy and get her workouts in, and it was quite the sight to see to walk in and see Mom doing her jazzercise routines with her like 2-pound weights in front of
was
the
into
TV.
it.
Yeah, she loved that stuff.
She also had an addiction to Talbots.
Yes.
Petite
section. Do not go into Talbot's without going to the petite section. That's right.
We're gonna miss her hugs, where her short little head would come up under your chin, and just felt like you were a kid again.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's her back rubs. She would always I could just give her the smile, the look. She'd wave me over and just rub my back while I watch TV. Can't see the words anymore?
She had an unwavering confidence in herself and security in herself. It was kind of funny when they couldn't figure out it was ALS. They diagnosed her with depression. I was like, nope, that's not right. There's a lot of things about her, but she was just so confident in who she was since she was an infant, and she was just secure in herself. In her decisions. Like, we have this story of my childhood best friend, Garrett Shelsta. We were both infants. We were born like within a month of each other. And he was just bawling. My mom's watching him. And we're like 5 months old, so she just stuck him on the teeth. Fix the problem.
Problem solved. Yep, no problem. I do remember she was such a servant. Talked about being in Bible studies and welcoming people. She served in our community church, some of you church, for years, and was back doing the sound mixer board, and I helped do worship on the Sundays, and it was cool to see her and I be able to serve together and do that together. But she was so involved with schools and any organizations, soccer and all that stuff. She was the team mom, and just love that. Definitely miss that.
She worked kind of when we got out of school. Like, she was all stay-at-home mom, but then we were in college. She thought I should probably start working. So she would get interviewed at jobs, which she did get the jobs, but they'd ask, like, in professional setting, like, what are you most proud of? Like, and she's going to say, like, Synergy or something. And
corporate
Yeah,
speak.
right. And she said, she'd say my boys every time.
Yeah, she said proud of raising the 2 boys.
I'm going to miss her voice.
She had a pretty voice.
When she sang us to sleep.
So that's the funny stuff. There's certainly things that we missed.
That we thought we would have.
And there's things that, now we think, gosh, certainly missed that, but what are we going to miss?
So number one for us is time. 20 more years of watching her grow old with our dad. Getting to witness a couple more decades of them modeling what love is.
Time with the grandkids. She loved the grandkids. And just teaching them how to cook, how to sew, being at their graduations, being at their weddings, helping to usher them into adulthood like she did with us, and sharing the same humor, the same hospitality, the same compassion, German cleanliness or Danish cleanliness, and just overall love. She gave it every single day she was alive to us and our families, and we're going to miss her.
And we love her. So, like a month before she passed away, we were crying with her. It was Seth and I, and she looked at Seth and she said, "Will you remember me?" And Seth said, crying, "Yeah, I'll remember you, Mom. Grandpa Shaw, I'll never forget you." And after that, we went downstairs and we started talking, and then Seth penned a letter, titled "A Letter to the Grandkids" about their Grandma Shar. He's the oldest grandchild. And it's a beautiful letter, so I wanted him to come on up here and read that letter for all of us and close us out.
This is a letter to the grandkids about their Grandma Shar. We had a grandma who loved to cook. Not only did she love to cook, but she was the best cook in the whole world. Unlike you guys, Logan and I were picky eaters. Really, really picky eaters. We didn't like anything, yet we loved everything that Grandma Shar cooked. Her magical cooking powers created pancakes so light and fluffy they would float away if you didn't eat them fast enough. With lots of powdered sugar, of course. I don't even like pies, but her spaghetti pie, homemade mac and cheese, and lemon ring pie are some of the best foods I've ever had, including restaurants. She always had dessert ready for us, even if we didn't finish what we were supposed to eat for dinner. Don't tell Mom and Dad. But the thing I loved most of all about Grandma Shar was her kindness. How she would cuddle with you on the couch and rub your back. And how she would ask great questions to make you talk about the things that you were trying to avoid, but knew you needed to say. I'll miss my Grandma Shar so much, but I know she is my brother's thoughtfulness, Nora's love of style and super awesome princess dresses, Cooper's constant joy, Tucker's spark, and my heart. We love you, Grandma Shar.
Love you, Grandma Shar.
Somewhere in the world, a child is born. He starts to cry, and he's on his way. Someone holds his tiny little form, and is heard to say, there's gonna be another day. And it's not so far away. There's gonna be another spring. There'll always be another song to sing. We're gonna see. There's gonna be another day. When we come to a river that's too wide, we'll build a bridge to the other shore. When we come to a wall that's too high, we'll build a door. Yeah, we'll build a door. There's gonna be another day. And it's not so far away. There's gonna be another spring. There'll always be another song to sing. We're gonna see. There's gonna be another day. Another day. Another day. Another day. Another Remember me cracked and faded by the years. Remember me in a sanctuary filled with silent prayer. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I've remembered you. Remember me. Remember me when the color of a sunset fills the sky. Remember me when you pray and tears of joy fall from your eyes. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I've remembered you. Remember me. Remember me when the children leave their Sunday school with smiles. Remember me when they're old enough to teach, old enough to preach, old enough to leave. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I remembered you. Remember me.
Age to age and heart to heart, child of wonder, child of God.
Remember me.
Age to age and heart to heart, child of wonder, child of God.
Let's stand together and we'll pray. Oh, Father, I think of the statement the brilliant writer of the Proverbs said, that you have set eternity in our hearts. But it's pretty deep down, and we're just very aware of how short time is here and how short our time with Charlotte was. Thank you that there is hope. Thank you that this is not all there is, but thank you today especially for inventing Charlotte in your mind. You, the most creative being in the entire universe, when you were thinking of the next person you wanted to create, you thought up Char. And we all got to experience her life. We all got to be touched by her life and impacted and loved and cared for and laughed together with and cried together with, and we celebrate her today. And if she is any kind of glimpse into what you're like, makes us want to know you a whole lot more. Thank you that we get to be together in memory of Charlotte. And we pray in your name. Amen.
None of us are born the same. We don't know why. It's the way we came. Every heart beats a little differently. Each soul is free to wind its way to the river that winds its way to the sea. But life is a journey, and there are wings, and there are wings to God. And there are several people who don't see eye to eye. And they go by many needs. They don't all go the same way, but they get there all the same. And I have a feeling that we'll meet someday, where the roads come together up the way.
None of us is born the same. We don't know why. It's the way we came. Every heart beats a little differently. Each soul is free to find its way, like a river that winds its way to the sea.